to the Reconnection Club podcast, the show that helps parents heal troubled relationships with their adult sons and daughters. I'm your host, psychotherapist Tina Gilbertson. Each week, I'll offer you compassion, clarity, and personal development tips designed to help you reconnect, not only with your child, but with yourself. Now let's get started. If your adult child had a problem with the way your relationship was going, you might be wondering, why didn't she simply come to you and talk to you about it? Why did she just cut you off without telling you why and giving you a chance to respond? In polite society, there is an expectation that both parties will show up in good faith to work through any problem that arises between them. I talked a little bit about that expectation in episode number 50, which was called Should Your Child Meet You Halfway? But today I want to dig into the question of why your child might choose to create distance without talking things through first. Because if we don't look at some alternative reasons for this behavior, you might conclude that your child is either rude, doesn't love you, or is just being mean. And I assure you, there are other more likely reasons that you should know about. And by the way, if you believe that your child is being rude or mean or unloving, please review episode 27, Estrangement Hurts But Not on Purpose. It's my understanding, based on research and also my own clinical experience, that when adult children choose to cut off their parents without discussion, it's usually due to one of three possible situations. The first is that they believe they've tried to communicate about the problem and it didn't work. Your child may feel that he has told you at least once, and possibly more than once, that something was a problem for him. And in his experience, nothing changed as a result of those conversations. He didn't get the response he was looking for. So he doesn't see himself as suddenly cutting you off without discussion or warning. In his experience, what happened was that he tried to communicate his dissatisfaction about something and received either no response or an unhelpful response. He may have been hoping for some change in the way that you relate to each other as a result of his communication. But from his point of view, that didn't happen. He thinks either you didn't hear him at all, you missed the point entirely, or you don't care enough about his feelings to take any action. So at some point, he saw his only remaining option as retreat. If this is the case, he has a whole story around trying and failing to get your attention, so that avenue is now closed in his mind. That's the first possibility. A second possibility is that your child doesn't have confidence that her feelings and needs will be heard and accepted if she talks about them. Having known you for a long time, she feels she already knows how you'll probably respond to certain things. Maybe she thinks she's avoiding an unpleasant conflict between you by not sticking around to tell you what's going on. If you've had numerous heated exchanges with your child in the past, she doesn't have much reason to believe that it will go differently this time. She may not expect you to listen calmly and not let things escalate into conflict. Or, if you simply haven't had a lot of heart-to-heart talks about personal things, she may doubt your ability to understand her or to respond appropriately to her emotional state. She may fear exposing her vulnerable self if she doesn't have any idea how you'll respond. Even if you used to have heart-to-heart talks together, she might still expect a negative reaction from you that she doesn't want. And it's possible that she's right as far as if she were to catch you off guard with complaints about your behavior, you might very well not respond very well. Most of us aren't at our best when we're blindsided by what feels like deeply personal criticism. So she may be right on the money by guessing that you wouldn't like what she has to say and it wouldn't go well for either of you. So that's the second possibility. is that your child thinks she knows what she'll get if she approaches you, and she doesn't want either of you to experience that. The third and final situation that I want to describe as a possible cause for your child's lack of communication about his estrangement is that he doesn't have the communication skills to navigate relationship difficulties. First of all, he may not have the emotional literacy to articulate what's bothering him, may not be able to put that into words. And also, unless he has some experience of seeing other family members work through problems using calm, effective communication, he won't necessarily know how to even begin. The communication skills your child has today are, at the very least, the same ones he learned from adults who were present when he was growing up. He may have improved on those basics, but it's highly unlikely that he has less skill today than he learned as a child. So think about what was modeled for him. Did he see the adults in the home working through difficult patches together in a way that was constructive, not loud or scary, not using the silent treatment or distance when things got too intense? How were emotions and conflict handled in the home when he was growing up? That was his training ground. Without good modeling, none of us can develop better communication skills as adults unless we intentionally seek to cultivate those skills through study and practice. So those are 3 likely scenarios if your child hasn't approached you or hasn't been willing to respond to your efforts to talk about the reasons for estrangement. Number 1, he thinks he already tried that and it didn't work. Number 2, she thinks she knows what she'll get from you and she doesn't want that. Or Number 3, your child doesn't have the skill to engage in that conversation. These are not mutually exclusive. Actually, they could all be true. So what can you do if your child won't talk to you? The same thing that all parents have the power to do throughout the lifespan, and that is to turn the tide of the relationship by leading and guiding through behavior modeling. If you want healthy, effective communication from your child, you may need to show her what that looks like. But if you're not in contact at the moment or in a position to model anything, at the very least, you can rest assured that in all likelihood, your child's behavior is not motivated by rudeness or lack of empathy. It's most likely based on communication problems. For much more about communicating with estranged adult children, please see my book, Reconnecting with Your Estranged Adult Child. Until next time, remember that you are a loving, lovable, and still growing human being. So please take good care of yourself. Bye for now. If you've enjoyed this episode of the Reconnection Club podcast, I invite you to check out reconnectionclub.com. The Reconnection Club is for parents at any stage of estrangement from their adult, child, or children. So whether you've just realized there's trouble between you, you've been living with estrangement for years, or you're newly reconciled but still walking on eggshells, the Reconnection Club is your essential resource for information, support, and continued personal growth. With our courses and workshops, expert interviews, monthly Q&A calls, and a friendly, active community, the Reconnection Club is a wonderful place to be for anyone suffering the pain of estrangement from an adult, child, or children. So check it out at reconnectionclub.com.